Welcome to our first ever virtual party. It felt like a good time to welcome people in from the ecosystem, from the arts and culture world who have either been on this journey with us or have collaborated with us or worked alongside us, or your friends or acquaintances and you just want to say hey. It's great to have you. I am Kalita, as most of you know, and that's my partner up there in the corner on my screen, Doug. And we're so grateful that you took the time to RSVP and you showed up. And when you didn't have a link, you told me and I sent it and you still showed up. And that's kind of cool too. So thank you for the patience of all the things as we are navigating the world as it is now. So Doug, I'm gonna pop credit to you to welcome.
Sure. It's great to see you all. And this really is just like, hey, let's celebrate for just a minute. Like, let's just take an hour and let's just celebrate everything we've all been doing. We'll talk a lot about creative evolutions. Kalita and I are going to share some stuff, which is kind of fun. But really, we're all on this journey together, especially you all on the screen. Hi, Ed. Thanks for joining. And this is all us on a journey together, and the world is so complicated by the day that like it's great to just take the time to do that. So. And what we wanted to do, again, just for an hour, like get together, like have you all introduce yourselves a little bit and how we're all connected in the ecosystem. Then Kalita and I sort of have a different approach to how we want to like talk about the creative evolutions journey ecosystem for the last 3 years. So we'll take 25 minutes to do that. And then sort of some other dialogue after that for those of you who can stay all the way to the end of the hour. And we're recording this too, because there's a lot of other folks who are like, what's been going on? And each one of you knows a little bit of from our lens what's been happening, but there's other things you don't know, and we don't know all the things you've been doing that connect to us. So this is really just a celebratory and collecting time. But it's Kalita Jones, so there's going to be some real talk in here as well, friends. And she's going to call for a toast at some point. So if you've got a glass of water or something more exciting near you, I have root beer myself, then have it handy for that. So
Thank y'all. First of all, that was not part of the script, the love fest that just happened for the last like 20 minutes, but thank you. It means a lot because as you all know, this work can be very lonely. And when you're pushing against and resisting the urge to get back into what's always been comfortable and what we've always known, um, it can be really lonely. And so it's reassuring to, first of all, that you all showed up and that you shared vulnerably how you felt and your thoughts about the work that Doug and I do. We do not get it right all the time. We are not perfect, but our heart is intentional and it's in the right place. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate it. And thank you for the introductions. And hopefully there's some through line connections that can come out of this, which is always our goal with creating an ecosystem. So Doug, can you share your screen maybe, or did you want to say something first?
I just want to say, so again, thank you. Like again, that was we were not like, come tell us why you love us, but we appreciate that's what you did. Uh, so we want to we thought we would take a few minutes, like I said, and sort of talk through like how we've experienced the journey of the 3 years and sort of where that's going. We talked about like, well, we could do 20 slides and we could do a timeline and and we were like, whoa, or not, or we could not do that. So instead, we have made sort of a collage, and then we're going to talk through the story in the way that Kalita likes to talk through stories and find our way. And so we'll see how this goes. And before we do, Bailey, whoever that was, I hope that they know they're part of the ecosystem also because they're adorable. Uh, and also for Reggie, who seems to have now disappeared in this moment. I was just going to say, we often in Creative Evolutions are in rooms that look something like this. And Kalita regularly, she and I talk regularly about if there's really too many men in these spaces, given that this is how it usually looks. So the fact that Reggie is able to be in some of these spaces too now, like that's a step forward for us. So just like that last. All right, share this, and then Kalita will pick it up and start like sharing sort of our story. It'll be interesting to see what parts of it are surprising to you and which parts are Autumn. Oh, Autumn! Yay, Autumn! All right. Here we go. Let me share this. And for those of you whose pictures are in this, I hope you don't mind. Dun, dun, dun. There we go.
Awesome. Okay, so gosh, this is a special journey. It started in August of 2022. Doug and I met in 2021, and we both made a decision that we needed to step away from what we were doing in order to step into what actually needs to happen in arts and culture in this country. And so we both resigned from a job, and I called Doug. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm not quite sure." And I was like, "Well, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do." And I said that to him because I had a contract that was not signed yet, and I knew that I couldn't do it on my own. And so I said, "I think we should start something. I don't know what it is, but we should start something so that we can get this contract and do things differently and change how the world is happening." And so Doug had been writing for a while. He's a very vivid writer, and he thinks about things, and then he'll just write, and he'll write, and he'll write. And I remember he wrote a white paper around this idea, and he had shared it with a really good friend of his, and thus becoming a colleague of mine very shortly after, Diane Ragsdale, who read it, and she was like, "How can we do stuff together?" And that sentence was like, "And go." Like, there was no turning back. We had to jump in and not look back. And that is how Creative Evolutions came to life. That's how it was born. And also, Creative Evolutions, that's a phrase to me that it doesn't capture just our intentions, but it also is our philosophy. You know, evolution never stops. It's continuous, it's daily, it's hourly, it's minute by minute, second by second. And, that's how we try to move through the world. Now, to be clear, not everyone was convinced. Like, he and I were super excited about this, but everybody wasn't convinced. And for example, DC Youth Orchestra, which is our first client, and also a program that I grew up in and I'm an alum of, down in Washington, D.C., they asked us about our process for search, and we were literally building the ship as we were going. But we had already talked about it. So we told them, and they were like, "Oh, that's great. And who else have you done that with?" And I was like, "Absolutely nobody." Like, "Oh my God. God, are you serious?" I was like, "Yes, we've never done it with anyone, but maybe we can do it with you." And they took a chance on us. And that was probably the most powerful, bold move they could take, because it helped us step into our boldness and into our truth and who we are as individuals, as humans. And it was audacious. It was reckless, if I'm being honest. Like, I remember talking to the team over there, and as we're saying it, I was like, "Now, how are we going to do this? Because we don't actually have a plan, but we're just going to keep talking about it and see what happens." But the plan started evolving as we started doing the work, which was amazing. And that is how Loretta ended up being the executive director of the DC Youth Orchestra, which is also the program that I grew up in and that I credit for where I am in my life right now, today. I would not be who I am. I would not be the musician I am. I would not be the advocate I am without growing up in Lynn McLean's program, which was a vision that he had 65 years ago, as you can see on our beautiful collage here. So that jump started us going, and we've been running ever since. And we dove into different ways that we could show people in action how we appreciate the value they bring to everything that we do. And that started with sustainable future SFIs, which I think I will let Doug talk a little bit about that, because I do a really poor job of explaining it.
Sure. So in that first opportunity with DC Youth Orchestra Project, when they said, "How would you do an executive search?" and our first reaction was, "Not like it's always been done." And they were like, "Well, then how?" And so Khalid and I sat down and developed a bunch of different things. A number of you have experienced that with us. But one of those right out the beginning was, well, who's doing the work here? And where's the value coming from? And we were like, well, these candidates are doing most of the work. They're the ones who are applying. They're the ones who are doing interviews. They're the ones who are doing all this stuff. And so one of the things we changed right out the gate for every single hiring thing we've ever done is paying candidates as part of the process. So, which included Loretta, and also bringing in people who have expertise. Jessica, who was here a minute ago, was one of the advisors who helped talk to potential candidates on that very first search, and not only help evaluate, but then also become an asset to the organization going forward, not just to us, but to whoever's doing the hiring, whoever's building the team. And that really was a big moment for us, and sort of built from there. Khalida referenced SFIs, which are stakes of financial interest, which is actually how we built Creative Evolutions. So every person who has created value with us So that's all of the advisors who have advised on searches and been paid to do that. That's all our collaborators who've done consulting with us. That's various other people. All have stakes in Creative Evolutions. And every September, we do a bonus and it goes out to those people. And that includes people who helped us the first 3 months Creative Evolutions existed and then haven't done anything else with us since then. We're about to do another bonus next week, and like royalties or residuals, like they're going to get $5 out of that bonus because we wouldn't be here without them and without a lot of you as well. So that's you can see in the lower left of the collage, lots of people getting money, tens of thousands of dollars now we've paid to candidates in searches and in other hiring processes, including our own when we've hired people to do things. Tens of thousands of dollars to advisors who've come in to support these organizations in different kinds of ways. And that's just fundamental. And it's amazing where if you put $1 behind something, even if it's only $1, how much it suddenly is real to people. And it's one of the most heartening things, I think, talking to even the most resistant organizations or individuals when we're like, we should really pay these candidates or we should pay this or whatever. And then they go, oh, well, do people do that? And we go, we have for years. They go, oh, well, I guess we can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And seeing other people do that when we're not there is one of my happiest moments. When I hear that somebody we worked with now, they have taken on and done some of that on their own. It's great. So that's pretty fundamental. Khalida, you want to pick it up from there?
Yes. So that's a huge standalone part of how Creative Evolutions moves through the world. And by May 2023 at the Yale Innovation Summit through Yale Ventures, we stood in front of hundreds of people and we pitched Creative Evolutions. We pitched the business model, and we won first place. And I will never forget that because we were standing at the very top of the auditorium. I was wearing 6-inch heels, and I also did not think we were going to win. And so we were standing there and they're doing all of the winner announcements, and somebody accidentally pushed the arrow ahead and I caught a glimpse of our picture. And I was like, oh my God, we won. And I turned to Doug and I was like, we won. And then I was like, my shoes, I have to walk all the way down these stairs, but we're going to do it. And so they announced us, we won. And it wasn't just about winning. It was validation that what we're doing is important and it matters, and it's real, it's tangible, it's something that people can hold on to. And that was a real beautiful moment for us. And so to be clear, y'all, because I know it's all fun and games and we're smiling, we look great, balloons and lights, it is not always smooth over here in Creative Evolutions land. If you look on the collage, you might see a picture of a laptop and a hooded man. And I like to deem that event as Houston Gate, which was when Doug and I were visiting Houston. We were having dinner with a friend of Doug's, and we came back to the car, and someone had broken into our rental car and taken all of our stuff, like everything, laptops, cords, house keys, everything. And that was the moment that I knew that Doug was my person, because when I tell you all that I crashed out and could not function as a human, I couldn't do anything. And he was so calm, which was actually frightening, because he was like, all right, I'll call the cops. And he called the cops. He did all the things that you're supposed to do. I was crashing out. Like, he was watching me melt down visibly. And then I was like, okay, I need to think about what's in that bag, because what do I need to be replaced? But that's when I knew he was my person, because while I was losing it over here, he was calmly doing all the adult things that adults do. And so that was a moment for us that will always be deemed as Houston Gate. And then there was the moment that we got yelled at by a potential client, and that I was not on the call, but I was listening through the call through other people, and they lost their mind. But each time that those things happened, we learned and we regrouped and we took ourselves through those moments. We sat with that discomfort and we kept forging forward. We kept pushing ahead. And then in January 2024, oh, sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
Talk about that, especially because our friend Claudia is on this call right now, who was when that happened. But this is actually another piece of it. So when we were talking at the beginning about, like, how are we going to move? You know, Khalid was like, in discomfort, that's what we're going to do. This is not going to be comfortable all the time. And just by putting out different choices, paying candidates is just an obvious example, but lots of other things, different ways you can move. There have been a number of times now where we have just shown up in a room and said, here's a different way you can do it. Not saying anyone has to do anything any particular way. And then people have lost their minds. Claudia and I were in one call with an organization who's excited about working with us. We said, here's how we would do it. And then there were a couple people on the call
just
we hadn't met
screamed
before,
at us,
who and said how offended they were that we would even suggest to do anything, whatever. Very uncomfortable. But then we got the call after that. We got off the phone. The executive director of the organization calls and is like, hi, so we're like, we're probably not going to work with you. They're like, no, 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 we're not going to work with you, but we're not going to work with anybody right now. We're actually stopping this entire process because that wasn't acceptable. And where did anybody think that was okay? Like, we have to actually stop and reconsider how we work and what our values are and what our, like, how we do things because we've learned that we are not aligned about a bunch of things. And I forget if it was Kalita or Claudia, one of you was like, that's awesome, but send me the bill. But the point was that was the work, and we do think of it that way. And so even when it's uncomfortable, or even when it's not about anybody, whatever, it's not a contract, it's about how we move through the world together and find new things and have uncomfortable conversations. And we have them a lot. We have wonderful, joyful conversations too, but we also have the uncomfortable ones. And you can see on the collage, sort of in the upper right-hand corner, there's the red glowing eyes, right? So this is kind of the monster under the bed. And sometimes all we have to do is put different ideas out there, suggest thinking about things a different way, question something. Sometimes it's doing something great. Kalita talks about this all the time right now. Just saying things like, before you hire someone, executive person, you have to hand them all the current financials. And then people go, current financials? What are those? And then in the process, they suddenly discover, oh my gosh, their finances are a huge disaster mess. Or, oh my gosh, like, we're going to ask the candidate these questions about culture or how they would behave in certain instances. And then we discover that we totally disagree. And people are really upset at each other and nobody's saying anything or whatever. So a lot of the work to try to take action to make things better, to find different paths, it's amazing how often it unearths the thing that people don't know about, the things that they aren't doing, the things that they are saying one thing but doing something else. There was one organization that we worked with that we were excited about, and we discovered at a certain point that, like, oh, they had a major donor who was just abusing people left and right, staff, other board members, whatever. And so we went to the other people who had power and authority. Were like, cool, to do any of this work, that has to stop. And they're like, we're not going to stop it. We're like, okay. So your model here is going to be, this person is the monarch who runs the show, and everybody else needs to accept that. And if that means they get abused or that means they get treated badly, that's okay. And that's just how it goes. And they privately, of course, went, yeah, that's how it is. We said, okay, you don't need to do that with us. And we encourage you to be honest with the other people around that that's what you're doing. But don't waste your time if that's going to be how you work. So sometimes that's a monster. Sometimes that's just a different choice that isn't the choice we would make or choice we could be associated with. But there's a lot of truth telling that's been in the last years. And that's with us too. So, Kalita, you want to jump from there?
Sure. There's always, in any journey, there's always loss and legacy, right? So, unfortunately, in the top of January 2024, Diane Ragsdale, who was at MCAD, where Cami is currently, she passed away suddenly, and it was a shock for us. It was shocking. And Doug actually went to her memorial service, got to reconnect with a bunch of people, and he was able to receive a piece of her artwork at the memorial service that he holds in his, it's currently in his Zoom museum on the wall behind the balloons. And, I think it's like her spirit is still involved for sure, because shortly after that, we were invited to teach the course that Cami was sharing with you all at the top of the call. And so her influence continues to live on. It's woven into the work we do, into how we think about things, how we talk about things. And then we returned back to Yale in 2024, not as contested contestants, but actually as collaborators with them and co-facilitators. I did the keynote for the arts track of the Innovation Summit. And also, we took a chance again and widened the circle. And they have a pitch competition that they do every year. And Creative Evolutions went as far as paying each person that submitted. So if you submitted a pitch for the Yale Innovation Summit in the arts track, each person got $100. And, it's really just modeling, actually showing people in action the value that they bring to something instead of just taking from people. Just take. And that's how we are as a country. We just take without really recognizing the value that someone brings, the expertise, the lived experiences, the perspectives. And for us, it really is modeling that it's not just about us anymore. And actually, this was never about us. I'm going to be really crystal clear about this. This was never about Kalita Jones, and this was never about Doug Clayton. This was about there is an ecosystem of humans that are often left out of the conversation, not invited into the rooms, not amplified in a way that is equitable, that is honest, that is genuine. And we wanted the space to be able to do it without having all the red tape and all the rules and all the voting and all the goofy crap that they like to add into those processes. Sure, that works for some things, but when we think about the people that we all here on this call interact with, they're not going to get into those rooms unless we open the doors, unless we pull up a chair, unless we step back and make space for them to move up front. So, that was a really special moment for us as well. And, also milestones don't always fit neatly into a box. They sometimes can get really messy. There was a time we do fire clients, y'all. I ain't gonna hold you. You will get fired and we will give you your money back. Like we don't, one thing, Doug and I, when we decided to do Creative Evolutions, the one rule that I had for Doug, I said, listen, if I don't like them, we don't like them. Like, this is a relationship. Like, you can't be friends with them. I can't be friends with them. But if I don't like them, we can't like them. And so we had to fire a client because, there were moments where they actually said, they would not talk to me. They would only talk to Doug. Like those stories that are sensationalized that you see on social media where people are like, yeah, there's weird racial dynamics. It's real. That individual absolutely would not talk to me, would only talk to Doug. And I was like, oh, really? You think that's how this is going to go? And so we walked away. Doug, did you want to add?
Oh, no, just agreeing with that. And that it is a balance because, like, I even just look at the faces on the screen right now. Like, we've all been through it in different ways, and each one of you has been through it different ways than I have or than Kalita has. And so we come into so many different spaces with grace. Like, this person is probably having a terrible day. I just have to assume that's probably happening because it's happening for so many people. And this person's experience isn't mine. And so they might be hearing me differently or whatever. And we're going to talk about uncomfortable things. And we have to have lines for ourselves. And it's okay for other people to have lines too. But definitely one of the lines for us is if Kalita doesn't like them, then very don't like them. That is very.
Yeah.
But that's why, if I can jump from there, a lot of different things in our imagery from the beginning that is about growth and change and different pathways and different choices. We've actually all the time, we found ourselves saying we have more choices than we think we do. Kalita's going to put that on a t-shirt, I think, and a mug. And that is really one of the ways through that is stopping to getting away from silver bullets, and even best practices is a thing we don't really say anymore. Like, lots of practices. Some have worked for some people, some places, some have not. But the idea that we have so many more choices and we should keep developing them and we should keep offering them is where we're finding lots of joy, I have to say. So, and that works for individual organizations. We do a thing called strategic pathways when we do strategy now. So it's not about what is the thing. Instead, we're like, what are all the different things that you could do that are exciting to you, and actually fleshing them out. And that's been really wonderful because you can see people go, we could do this, we could do that, we could go this way or this way. And like, it's real and it's doable and we could make that happen. And then we get to choose or create something else. And that's a wonderful way to live your life, is with that sense of autonomy and choice. Because so much of the time we feel like we are put in boxes and kept down, and this is only one way to do it, and you're going to do it wrong anyway, so you might as well embrace failure before you even start. And that's just, anytime we can open that up so that people have more choices and can do that. And actionable choices. You see it in our little language from the lower right hand side that we wrote at the very beginning, which was actionable solutions. So not just ideas, but practical things. And I appreciate, we have balloons here, and like even having balloons, like, and having bags and merchandise and whatever. Like, there is a thing that Kalita reminds me all the time about being in person and being real and being practical. And sometimes that's ideas. Like, we can make this choice and do it tomorrow if we want to. And we do that all the time. We'll come up with an idea and say, let's do that tomorrow. We need cookies. But it's also things like, we're going to have Kalita saying, if we're going to have a party, with the logo on it, or we're going to have a business card. Well, I know a lot of you have these. Like, we're going to make the business cards coasters that are beautiful, that people actually have on their desk. And having things that feel real and don't get wrapped up in ideas or things that aren't real or false constraints, is just a approach we've settled into, that makes sense for us. That also ties into, there's a whole thread here in terms of things we've learned and how we've evolved. Kalita said at the beginning that I have like a lot. I like to write. I like language. I like words. And Kalita at some point, along with several of our other colleagues who've worked with us a lot, finally like got me to get off the language horse. And that's a horse that a lot of our field, a lot of our country is really wrapped up in. If we can just find the right words, it will all magically work. And as that thing says on the collage, like, stop talking, start doing. We now are like, people want to do strategy, people want to figure out their path forward, and they're like, let's rewrite our mission statement. We're like, no! We'll come back to that later. What do you want to do tomorrow? Like, let's talk about that first, and then we can figure out the words. One of our colleagues, Rebecca Novick, who is here on the screen as well, she says, culture is repeated behaviors. So when we're doing culture work for ourselves or others, we're like, let's stop making giant lists of values, and let's start, as Kalita said early on, she was like, I don't care what your values are, just don't touch my hair. And I was like, I come back to that one like every day.
Yep. It's true. And, thank you for that, Doug. And also, we were bold when we decided to do this. And this was not on my bucket list of things. Like, if you looked at my diaries or stuff, there was not start a business with someone and co-own a business. That was never a thing. But it's important to highlight, Creative Evolutions was born out of pain. Like, it wasn't born out of, oh, we need another business in the world. It was, oh my God, I might die if I keep moving the same way I'm moving. I need to be in a space where I can actually take care of myself. Hence the human-centered adaptive ecosystem. And Doug and I rub up against different kinds of moments where it's like, we have to be adaptable, and we're human, and we get sick, and we have surgeries. Like, I'm coming up on a year of having surgery to remove 18 members of the Orpheus Fibroid Chamber Orchestra. And that was a thing. I mean, I was in pain for 10 plus years, and no one knew because I never talked about it, because I wasn't allowed to. You have to determine whether you're going to be a liability or an asset. And when it turned out that I needed to be an asset for majority, predominantly white institutions, I was like, nah, bruh, that's not what my mama pushed me out for. Can't do it. And so shifting into this space where we created this dynamic where we, he and I have had massive moments of health challenges the last 3 years that we've had to support each other in different iterations. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Appreciate you for showing up today. You're amazing. We've had to not only be adaptive, but we've also had to flex different muscles emotionally and mentally for ourselves so that we didn't have a complete and utter mental breakdown. Though we also have included those sporadically throughout, just for fun. Like, it happens. It's natural. But we've also been inventing tools and approaches, not because we wanted to, but because they didn't exist. And it's crazy that, like, mutual accountability and employment agreements really don't. There are still places in this country that don't have a contract or agreements or reciprocity in those agreements. If you're a board, you have to hold responsibilities and you have to do those things. If you're an employee, you need to make sure you're holding that board accountable for what they said they were going to support you through. And we both believe fundamentally that that's a lot of the breakdown in a lot of arts and cultural organizations is there's just not the mutual accountability. There's not the understanding of making sure that leadership feels supported. It feels like they have everybody that they need to be successful. And so like Doug shared, the strategic pathways, the living vision, approaches. Also, everyone will leave, and that's okay. You'll see that in the top corner over there. People leave jobs. That's normal. Like, stop being weird and trying to make them stay for 75 years. That is weird. So we encourage people. We tell them, like, everyone will leave, and that's okay. Like, whenever we hear someone say, oh, so-and-so can't leave ever because they're so amazing. Yes, and there are other amazing people out there in the world who deserve a chance to lead and learn how to lead. So we've created lots of workshops around these things and even almost down to like recipes, like steps to how you handle an approach when someone says, I think I'm going to leave this job and do something else. Here is a recipe for that transition. And if you follow the recipe, your organization will not melt down. If you don't follow the recipe, you will have done it to yourself. Go ahead, Doug. You might push back on that.
Well, it's just choices. It's just so people can think about things in different ways. And we question all the time. We question ourselves. We question our own language. We question how people do things. So we were just doing a workshop the other day, and this organization was like, curiosity. All the people are like, we love curiosity. And I was like, okay, curiosity is both I can discover something new today, and I can look at something I think I already know and be curious if I actually know it or if it's changed. And you can look both ways with that. So, not to belabor a lot of it, but I just love this because this was a moment recently that was sort of like, this is what we're trying to do again in a different way. We did a workshop, Kalita mentioned, on Everyone Will Leave and That's Okay, on staff turnover for Theater for Young Audiences for their national organization a year and a half ago. And then we came back and we were at one of their events this year, and an artistic director came up and was like, oh, you all did the staff turnover, staff transition, everyone will leave thing, right? And we said, yeah. He's like, yeah, I took the 16 ideas that you gave us and I went back and we implemented 4 of them. And then 9 months later, our staff did their annual feedback, and several of those things, staff were like, this really helped us a lot. He's like, so thank you. And we were standing with Sarah, who's the head of TYA, the executive director, and we were like, look, okay, this is ecosystem here, because this is not just we had good ideas. It was we had experience with staff in our organizations when we were staff or when we were board members or whatever. We shared some things with TYA. They shared some things with this artistic director. They put some things into their staff departments. Staff did those things, and then there actually were positive results that helped people. You all like, okay, we can't do it by ourselves. So you all here, everybody else is watching this, everybody we work with, like there's so many different things. And there's
Uh-oh. Okay, Doug might have gotten there might be some, oh, are you back?
I think so.
Okay, finish your statement.
Just that there's too many things for us to talk through all of them here as we're coming to the end of our time, but there's always more. And one of the other things on the screen here is you see the ripples, the drops and the ripples. And thank you to our colleague Cindy for that metaphor. We are learning more and more all the things that everybody's doing around the ecosystem that then ripple out and impact others. Every idea somebody has that gets to somebody else, that gets to somebody else, like that's how it works. So a lot of our work going forward is not just us doing things, but is going to be, oh, somebody's dropping that stone and making ripple. Let's push on that a little bit. Let's uplift that a little bit. Let's have it skip a little bit more. So it gets more ripples out there from everybody who's trying to do this good work.
Thanks, Doug. Like I shared, life has been happening all while this is going on. Life was happening for Doug in different ways. Life was happening for me in different ways. Both of our health was challenged. But what I will say is that I will be eternally grateful that my health was challenged in the way that it was at Creative Evolutions than at any other job where I didn't have a choice. I could not say, I need to step away and have the surgery so that I can come back and be better. And, that's a real thing. And this work only matters if we can stay human and stay grounded and stay connected to one another. So, here we are on a journey that began with, this is what you're going to do, Doug and Kalita. And it's grown into a movement. It's grown into an ecosystem. It's grown into a series of evolutions. And we've stumbled, we've lost, we've celebrated, we've won contracts, we've lost contracts. But we've always maintained that culture, like Rebecca Novick said, is repeated behaviors, and change is absolutely possible and it's necessary. And this isn't the end. This is simply, it's another evolution. And so thank you all who are here for being a part of it. Thank you for helping us discover things. Thank you for helping us to see what's possible, for jumping in with us, because we don't always know what the outcome is going to be. We just know that something has to happen. Something needs to shift. The ground needs to be shaken. And I'm convinced that the more people that we are connected to as humans, the possibilities of change, the way that our kids who are coming behind us, the way that they're coming behind us, if we can set up an infrastructure for them, they have a shot at being creative humans who don't have to sacrifice their values, who don't have to sacrifice who they are as individuals, who can still be free artistically to create, to design their lives and make it look like something that they can be proud of, a legacy that they've created for themselves. And we couldn't do that without you all and all of the people who couldn't make it because they probably had a meeting that could have been an email. We're just so grateful for you. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Every single one of y'all probably went to those this week. You were like, now y'all could have emailed me. This was not necessary. But we're so grateful for your love, your support, the way that it shows up on this call and in emails. And we will stay connected with you all. We're not going anywhere, at least not that I know of, Doug, right? We're not going anywhere. So if you have a beverage or a drink or water, whatever, anyone that everybody knows me on this call. So you know how I do. Have a little glass of Prosecco, a little sparkling rosé. Yes, cheers, prost, all the things to the next iteration of evolving and evolution. Thank you all.
Thank you all for how you all have been doing this too. Like that was our journey through. But we know, because we know you all, that you all are doing this too in your own different ways. So thank you.
Now, before you leave, because you can't leave yet, please don't leave yet. We have new stuff coming. Like we are constantly working on things. We're building new things. We're in the throes of building something really exciting for the field. And we're going to need partners. We're going to need sponsors in the very new future. So, be on the lookout. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to our emails to receive our newsletter, please subscribe. We are still a resource to all of you. You all know how to find either one of us. If you need anything, I'm pretty quick with the text responses, as is Doug. Did I miss anything, Douglas?
Just that it's really working with a lot of you and a lot of other folks out there. It's worked all different ways. There have been days when Kalita and I sat down and we're like, we had this idea, and we did it. There have been times we said, we had this idea, we reached out to other people who said, that's great, we worked together. We reached out to people who said, nope, not interested in that. We're like, okay, not that today. And the other way around. And right now we have a couple of big things coming together for later in the year and for the beginning of next year that have come through partnerships and relationships that have worked both ways. So anytime you've got things, like we are constantly asking, what else do you want to do? What other ideas do you have? What other ways can we make all this better? And sometimes those are things we can work on together. And sometimes those are things we can share. And sometimes those are things we can promote to each other. And sometimes there's things where it's like, wow, good for you. There's nothing I can do with that. I don't know. I don't even understand it, but that's okay. But we don't know unless we talk about it. And it is exciting. And Kalita is being intentionally, I'm not going to describe to you today, inciting by being like, you can get involved with a thing. But we will describe it to you soon. So hang in there.
Yeah. No, he's right. It's something new and it's different, and I don't want it to be eroded. I don't want someone to try and take it and half do it, because everything that we do, it comes with intention that's informed by our respective lived experiences. And so we want to be genuine, we want to be intentional, and we want to make sure that we're doing it right. It's never going to be perfect. This is a very messy world that we exist in. Arts and culture in America is very messy, even though it's a small ecosystem. The hurricanes and tornadoes that it causes is astounding. Like my gasket stays flabbered because I'm like, how does the arts and culture get wild like this? Like, how do they manage to do this? But they do. But we keep going. We keep getting up every day. I'm so grateful to Doug. He doesn't know I'm saying this, but I am so grateful to Doug because I saw a vision probably 6 months into him and I working together. The first time we worked together, I saw something, but the vision was not clear enough. And then as the different levels of Dante's Inferno kept getting activated where we were working, the vision got more clear. And then like that last leg of Dante's Inferno, I was like, okay, I know what we got to do. And so I am grateful to him for believing in a vision from this little girl from District Heights, Maryland, who plays the violin and who got in trouble in kindergarten for mocking her kindergarten teacher by reading aloud to the class, like her teacher. Like, who gets in trouble for reading out loud? Talita, I do, and running my mouth. So I'm grateful to you because this took us on a journey that we never anticipated, and we're just at the beginning. So that's all I got. I'm done.
Thank you for spending your Thursday afternoon with us.
Yes, thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.